Look, I know everybody in here got that one person, or maybe a few, who try to test your peace. The ones who smile in your face but speak poison behind your back. The ones who drain your energy, doubt your vision, and make you question your worth. I ain't talking about haters on the internet. I'm talking about toxic people in your circle, sometimes even in your family. See, the hardest thing ain't cutting them off. The hardest thing is respecting yourself enough to not lose your character in their chaos, because self-respect, that's your armor, that's your power. It's what separates those who move with purpose from those who just react to pain. Protect your energy like it's currency, because that's exactly what it is. Your spiritual wealth, your inner capital. Every day you wake up with a certain amount of it. And just like money, how you spend it determines what kind of life you live. The problem is, too many of us give it away too cheap, to arguments, to gossip, to proving points that don't even matter. You gotta understand, not everybody deserves access to your energy. Not everybody's earned the right to drain your spirit or even be in your space. Your peace is expensive, your focus is rare. You can't afford to let people bankrupt you emotionally. I learned that the hard way. When you start chasing your goals, when you start elevating, people notice. Some support you, but some just come to siphon your light because it reminds them of what they're not doing. They'll try to distract you, provoke you, pull you into their chaos just to feel in control again. And if you let them, they'll drain you without you even realizing it. You'll find yourself tired, irritated, unfocused, wondering why you don't got the same fire you used to have. But the truth is, it ain't gone. It's just being spent in the wrong places. See, energy don't lie. You can feel when somebody's presence is heavy, when they walk in the room and the whole vibe shift. That's your intuition warning you. Protect yourself. Some people ain't bad, they just carry weight that ain't yours to lift. But if you keep entertaining it, if you keep letting it drain you, you'll start mistaking survival for peace. You'll start believing exhaustion is just part of the process. It's not. Peace ain't something you chase, it's something you protect. And the biggest trick toxic people play is making you believe you owe them your reaction. They say something slick and the old you want to fire back. You want to explain yourself, defend your name, show them you're not weak. But the moment you react, they win, because your reaction feeds them. They don't want peace, they want control, they thrive off your emotion. But when you stay calm, when you move with composure, they lose their grip. That's when the power shifts. I remember times when people tried to test me, tried to pull me out my element, and I used to bite every time. I get loud, get angry, start explaining my moves like I owed somebody clarity. But after a while, I realized my silence says more than any argument ever could. Silence is a statement, it's discipline, it's strength. Because when you can look at somebody trying to provoke you and still choose peace, that's mastery. You can't buy that type of control, you earn it through growth. The truth is, peace ain't passive, it's power under control. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste proving your worth to somebody who already decided they don't want to see it. You don't got to defend your character to people who distort the truth. You don't got to explain your vision to people with limited sight. Protect your energy by being selective with your responses, your time, and your presence, because not every battle deserves your participation. Sometimes the best response is no response. Let them talk, let them assume, let them paint whatever picture they need to feel comfortable. While they talking, you working. While they plotting, you planning. While they sleeping on you, you building something that'll speak for itself. That's how you win, not through noise, but through results. And I know it's hard because we all got pride, we all got emotion, but you gotta train yourself to value peace over proving. Think about it like this. When you got money in your account, you don't argue with people trying to convince you broke. You just keep moving because you know your balance. That's how energy works too. When you know your worth, you stop explaining it. You stop trying to convince people to treat you right because you already decided you deserve better. There's power in restraint. There's dignity in not responding. There's peace in walking away. You ain't weak for protecting your energy. You wise. You focused. You aware of how energy exchanges shape your reality. Every time you engage in negativity, you fund somebody else's drama, you invest in their chaos. But when you choose peace, when you let things go, when you don't react, that's you keeping your energy circulating within your purpose. That's you investing in your future. And that's the part most people miss. Energy protection ain't about ignoring people. It's about aligning with what's feeding you instead of what's bleeding you. You gotta check your environment. Who around you uplifts you? Who drains you? Who makes you doubt yourself after every conversation? Because sometimes it's not the loud enemies you gotta worry about. It's the quiet distractions disguised as friends. Protecting your energy also means protecting your focus. You can't grow if you constantly explaining your growth. Some people only come around to monitor your progress, not celebrate it. They'll ask questions, act curious, but deep down they just want to measure how far you've gone without them. Don't fall for that. Keep your moves private. Keep your goals sacred. Every time you overshare with the wrong person, you give them an opening to project doubt. And listen, sometimes protecting your energy means spending time alone. Silence ain't loneliness, it's alignment. It's where you hear your own thoughts again. It's where you reconnect with yourself without all the noise. That's where real power grows, in solitude, in focus, in stillness. Because when you truly value your peace, you stop letting anybody disturb it. So start treating your energy like the currency it is. Budget it, guard it, invest in things that multiply it. Creativity, growth, faith, love, purpose. Stop giving discounts to people who don't respect its value. You don't see billionaires throwing money in the street. They invest it wisely. So why you keep giving your energy to situations that don't serve you? The older I got, the more I realized peace is the new success. You can have all the money, all the attention, all the recognition, but if you can't sleep at night, if your spirit ain't settled, you broke in a different way. Protecting your energy is how you stay rich inside. That's how you build something that lasts beyond the noise. At the end of the day, when you stop feeding energy into negativity, you start investing in peace, and peace, that's real wealth. It's the kind of wealth that don't crash with the market, don't fade with fame, don't break when people turn their back. It's internal, it's eternal, and it starts the moment you decide my energy is too valuable to waste. So today, I want to break down 5 real keys on how to respect yourself in front of toxic people. This ain't theory, it's real life game. Let's get into it. Set boundaries and stand on them. That's one of the realest lessons you'll ever learn in this life, because self-respect don't start with fancy words or self-help quotes. It starts with that simple word that's hard for most people to say, no. That one word separates people who own their peace from people who let the world drain them dry. You gotta understand, every time you say yes, when your heart's saying no, you teaching people how to treat you. You teaching them that your time, your energy, your peace, it's up for grabs. And before long, you wake up wondering why you feel empty, why you tired, why you don't even recognize yourself no more. When I was younger, I used to think love meant saying yes to everybody. I didn't want to disappoint nobody. I didn't want to seem cold. I thought being available made me loyal. But what I learned through the grind, through experience, through pain, is that being too available will drain your purpose. Every time you agree to something that don't serve your spirit, you trading a piece of yourself just to keep somebody else comfortable. That's not loyalty, that's self-neglect dressed up as love. See, toxic people hate boundaries because boundaries expose the truth. When you finally start saying, no, I can't do that, or I'm not okay with this, you take away their control. They can't manipulate you through guilt no more. They can't use your kindness against you. That's when they start saying you changed, and they right. You did. You evolved. You started realizing your peace was worth protecting. You started realizing that the people who really love you won't make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. There's power in being able to say no without explaining. You don't owe anybody a paragraph when your spirit says something ain't right. You don't gotta apologize for outgrowing situations that no longer feed you. Growth will make some people uncomfortable because it means they can't access you the same way anymore. But you can't dim your light just to make someone else feel secure in their darkness. You can't keep shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. I remember a time I was saying yes to every favor, every meeting, every conversation, trying to please everybody. I thought being everywhere meant I was making progress. But the truth is, I was spreading myself thin. I was saying yes to so many people that I didn't even realize I was saying no to myself. My goals were suffering, my mind was cluttered, and my energy was scattered. That's when I learned every yes costs something. Every commitment takes a piece of your focus. And if you don't learn to protect your time, people will schedule your life for you. So I started saying no. At first it felt uncomfortable, even guilty. But then I realized every no I gave to distraction was a yes to my purpose. Every boundary I set was a message to the universe that my time had value. And once I started moving like that, the respect followed. Real people, the ones meant for you, they don't get offended by your boundaries. They respect them because they got their own. But the ones who benefited from your lack of limits, they'll be the loudest when you finally draw the line. That's why you can't fold when people start complaining. When they say, you acting different, take that as confirmation you're supposed to be. Growth looks like distance to people who's still standing still. You gotta get comfortable with being misunderstood for protecting your peace. Not everybody gonna understand your silence. Not everybody gonna like your decisions. But boundaries ain't built for them. They built for you. A lot of people think boundaries are about pushing people away, but really they're about keeping the right ones close. Because when you define what's okay and what's not, you create room for the people who truly align with you to show up. You make space for relationships based on respect, not need. You start attracting people who value your time because they value their own. You start building connections rooted in peace instead of pain. Boundaries also teach you discipline. You can't set M and break M every time somebody gets emotional. You gotta stand on them even when it's uncomfortable. Because if you don't enforce your boundaries, they're just suggestions, and people will always test them. That's human nature. But when you stand firm, when you hold your ground without getting angry, you send a message. I respect myself too much to bend for chaos. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with people you love, family, friends, partners, those close connections. Because your heart tells you to keep giving chances, to keep explaining, to keep fixing. But love without boundaries becomes a burden. You can care about somebody and still protect your peace. You can wish them well and still walk away. That's not selfish, that's self-preservation. You can't pour from an empty cup. And you can't heal in a space that keeps reopening your wounds. I've seen people lose themselves trying to be everything to everyone. They forget their purpose, their vision, their identity. all in the name of being loyal. But real loyalty starts with being loyal to your own well-being first. You can't show up for others if you ain't showing up for yourself. And that's why boundaries matter. They keep you aligned with your truth. They remind you what you stand for. And I get it, sometimes it's lonely when you start saying no. You'll lose people who are only there for convenience, not connection. You'll see faces fade, conversations stop, energy shift. But don't let that scare you. Because every time someone leaves because you chose yourself, that's the universe clearing space for something better. You'll lose the ones who only love the unhealed version of you, but you'll attract the ones who respect the evolved you. Standing on your boundaries ain't always about being tough. It's about being grounded. It's knowing that peace don't come from pleasing others. It comes from honoring yourself. It's about looking at your time, your energy, your focus like sacred resources, not things to be wasted. The same way you wouldn't hand your wallet to a stranger, stop handing your emotional energy to people who don't value it. And when somebody gets mad at your boundaries, remember this: they were only benefiting from you not having any. The minute you start respecting yourself, the wrong people will fall off. But don't chase them. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Just keep standing firm. Because every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce your worth. At the end of the day, setting boundaries is how you teach the world how to treat you. It's how you turn self-love into action. It's how you transform from someone who reacts to everyone else's demands into someone who moves with intention. When you stand on your boundaries, you stop seeking validation and start creating respect. And that's when your energy changes. That's when your circle shifts. That's when you step into your power, calm, focused, and untouchable. Don't let their pain become your identity. That right there might be one of the hardest lessons to live by, but it's one of the most necessary. Because in this world, you're going to meet people who ain't bad at their core. They just hurt. They unhealed. They've been through things they never processed, never faced, never let go of. And instead of fixing what's broken inside, they throw it on other people. They project their fears, their insecurities, their doubts. And if you're not grounded in who you are, you'll start carrying weight that was never yours to begin with. You ever notice how some people always got something negative to say when you start winning? They can't just clap and say, "That's dope." They got to remind you of your past, point out your flaws, plant a little seed of doubt. It's not that they hate you. They hate what you remind them of. You remind them that they settled, that they gave up, that they never chased what they wanted. So instead of celebrating your progress, they try to make you question it. And if you don't understand what's happening, you'll take it personal. You'll start thinking something's wrong with you, when really, it's their pain trying to rewrite your confidence. I learned early that you can't let other people's wounds write your story. Most people speak from their own limits. When they tell you something's impossible, what they're really saying is they couldn't do it. When they doubt your dream, it's because they never had the discipline to chase theirs. So you can't take it to heart. You got to look at their words for what they are. Information, not truth. Their perspective don't define your purpose. I remember being on the come up, trying to build something from nothing. People looked at me crazy, told me I was wasting time, said I should play it safe. They didn't understand the vision. And back then I used to take that stuff personally. I used to feel like maybe they were right. Maybe I was dreaming too big. But then I realized they wasn't speaking about me. They were speaking from fear. They had seen failure and they wanted to protect me from it. But what they didn't understand was that failure ain't the enemy. Fear is. That's why you can't let somebody else's pain define your limits. Because if you let their fear sit in your spirit long enough, it becomes yours. You start moving cautious like them, thinking small like them, settling like them. You start inheriting pain that don't belong to you. That's how generational cycles keep spinning. People pass down fear like it's family tradition. But at some point, you got to be the one to break it. You got to say, "Nah, that's not mine. I'm not carrying that no more." Sometimes it's not even strangers. Sometimes it's people you love. They mean well, but they speak from scars. They'll tell you to keep your head down, play it safe, stay humble. And there's wisdom in that, but there's also limitation if you don't filter it. You got to be able to separate their experience from your vision. What didn't work for them might work for you. What broke them might build you. But you only find that out if you stay true to who you are. That's why it's so important to know yourself, to define yourself before the world does. Because if you don't, you'll start accepting other people's labels as your truth. You'll start thinking you're not enough because somebody who was hurting told you that. You'll start believing you're too much because somebody insecure couldn't handle your energy. You'll start shrinking just to fit into somebody else's comfort zone. But the truth is, you were never meant to fit. You were meant to evolve. The deeper lesson is this: hurt people, but healed people protect their peace. So when you see somebody projecting negativity, don't match it. Don't absorb it. Observe it. That's all data. It's just showing you who needs distance. You don't got to argue with it. You don't got to fix it. You just recognize it for what it is and move accordingly. Because when you start matching toxic energy, you lower yourself to their frequency. And that's how their pain becomes your identity. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine somebody throws dirt at you. You can either stand there and let it stick, or you can brush it off and keep moving. The dirt ain't the problem. It's whether you decide to carry it or not. Same goes for people's negativity. You can't control what they throw, but you can control what you carry. And the less you carry, the lighter you move. I've seen this happen in real life. There were people I grew up with, talented, smart, full of potential, but they got caught in environments that spoke nothing but doubt. Every time they tried to step up, somebody around them said, "You can't do that," or "That's not realistic." And instead of rejecting it, they absorbed it. They started believing that voice. Before long, they stopped trying. They let someone else's pain define their ceiling. And it wasn't because they lacked talent, they lacked belief. That's the danger of letting somebody else's wounds shape your mindset. Their pain becomes your prison. Their insecurity becomes your mirror. You start living from their perspective instead of your own. And that's a slow death, because you stop being who you are and start becoming who they think you should be. But you can't build greatness off someone else's brokenness. You can love them, you can understand them, but you can't become them. And that takes strength, because it's easy to internalize negativity, especially when it's constant. But that's where real discipline comes in, mental discipline. You got to train yourself to filter what you hear. Not every opinion deserves your belief. Some people talk loud but think small. You can listen, but you don't have to absorb. You can acknowledge their pain without adopting it. Every time you choose peace over projection, you win. Every time you stay grounded in your truth while somebody tries to throw theirs at you, you grow. Because at the end of the day, your identity should be built from purpose, not pain. You define who you are by what you believe, not by what they say. The most powerful thing you can do is know yourself so well that no one else's voice can shake your confidence. That's freedom. When you understand that their pain is not your responsibility, you stop carrying unnecessary weight. You stop reacting to negativity like it's personal. You realize it's just unhealed energy trying to find a home, and you don't have to be that home. So don't let their pain become your identity. Let it remind you why healing matters. Let it teach you empathy, not insecurity, because once you define yourself, once you decide who you are and what you stand for, nobody's opinion, nobody's projection, nobody's pain can rewrite that. You stay true to your vision, stay grounded in your purpose, and keep moving. Because when you know who you are, you stop being shaped by who hurt you and start becoming who you were meant to be. Master the art of emotional control. That's a real one. Because in this world, everybody trying to get a reaction out of you, especially when you shining, when you elevating, when you starting to separate yourself from the noise. Toxic people thrive on reactions. They feed off seeing you angry, frustrated, or thrown off your game. The moment you let them pull you out your peace, they know they still got a piece of your power. But the moment you stay calm, when you smile instead of snapping, when you walk away instead of fighting, that's when you become untouchable. That's a different kind of strength. See, emotional control ain't about pretending you don't feel nothing. It's about knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It's about understanding that your emotions are your responsibility, not a weapon for other people to use against you. Everybody can look strong when things going right, but real strength shows when you're still composed in chaos, when everything around you trying to break your spirit, but you keep your head up and your tone steady. That's discipline. I learned that the hard way. I've been in rooms where people disrespected me, doubted me, and straight up tried to test me. People who didn't even know me would move sideways just to see if they could get a rise out of me. But after a while, I realized something. Reacting to every disrespect don't prove you strong. It proves they got access to your peace. Every time you let anger dictate your next move, you hand them control. That's what they want. They want to see you lose your composure because your reaction validates their insecurity. But when you stay centered, when you don't let them pull you off balance, that silence burns them more than any words ever could. I used to think clapping back was power, like I had to defend my name, check people, let them know they couldn't play with me. But over time, I learned power don't need to prove itself. Power just is. It moves quiet. It moves with focus. Real power is when you're so locked in that nothing outside of you can break your peace. Because once you let your emotions control you, the world can manipulate you. Think about it. The system we live in, the social media culture, the negativity around us, it all feeds off emotion, outrage, anger, ego, envy. That's what keeps people distracted. They want you to move off impulse because impulse don't build nothing, it destroys. But when you master emotional control, you move with clarity. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop being controlled and start creating. That's when you separate yourself from the crowd. And let's be real, controlling your emotions ain't easy, especially when you feel disrespected. We human, we got pride. But composure don't mean weakness, it means wisdom. It means you got the awareness to know that every battle ain't worth fighting. Some people act out just to project their own pain onto you. They're miserable and misery needs company. So when they see your peace, they see something they can't find within themselves. That's why they poke at you, test you, try to get you to react. But you can't let that pull you down. You got to be grounded enough to say, you're not going to get me today. I remember being in situations where walking away felt like losing. Like if I didn't respond, people would think I was soft. But the truth is, walking away is one of the hardest forms of strength. Anybody can react. Not everybody can restrain themselves. It takes maturity to protect your peace when your ego's screaming for revenge. But that's how you evolve, because when you get emotional, you lose perspective. But when you stay calm, you see the whole board. You move strategic, not reactive. And that's what keeps you ahead. You ever notice how after you blow up, after you say or do something out of anger, it always costs you more than it was worth? That's because emotion clouds judgment. It makes temporary people permanent problems. That's why you gotta pause before you respond. Breathe before you speak. Don't let the heat of the moment burn down everything you built. Because when the fire cools, you still gotta live with the damage. Emotional control is not about suppressing how you feel. It's about channeling that energy into something that builds instead of destroys. When you master emotional control, you stop being a puppet to people's opinions. You stop letting their words write your reactions. They can throw shade, but you got too much light to respond to it. You start realizing that your peace is worth more than proving a point. And once you get to that place, you start operating different. You stop chasing validation and start valuing silence. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop fighting battles that don't add to your growth. Let me tell you something real. Composure intimidates people who expect chaos. When you don't react, they don't know what to do with you. When you smile in the face of disrespect, when you respond with logic instead of anger, it confuses them. Because they can't control what they can't provoke. That's power they can't steal. That's peace they can't touch. You can't control how people treat you. And trust me, you'll encounter some who test your patience, your kindness, your limits. But you always got a choice in how you respond. That's where your respect comes from. Not in how you act when life is smooth, but how you handle yourself when things get rough. Respect yourself enough to not trade your peace for their chaos. Don't let somebody else's lack of discipline make you lose yours. People gonna talk, they're gonna test you, they're gonna misunderstand you. But you don't owe them your reaction. You owe yourself your focus. You owe your future your discipline. Because emotional control ain't just about keeping calm. It's about keeping your energy in alignment with your purpose. Every time you react to negativity, you take attention away from what you're building. But when you stay grounded, when you stay calm in the storm, you prove that your peace is stronger than their pressure. I know it ain't easy. I know there are moments when every part of you want to respond, when you want to set the record straight. But the most powerful move is sometimes no move at all, because when you protect your energy, when you master your emotions, you control your narrative, you keep your power. You stay in rhythm with your goals instead of letting distractions play you off beat. So learn to master your emotions, not suppress them. Feel what you feel, but don't let it drive your decisions. Anger fades, pain heals, but the consequences of losing control can last forever. When you learn to smile instead of snap, breathe instead of break, walk away instead of fight, that's when you truly evolve. That's when you tap into a level of peace that can't be bought, can't be broken, can't be stolen. Because no matter what they say or do, you stay solid, calm, focused, untouchable, walking away like you value yourself. That's one of the hardest but most powerful lessons you'll ever learn. Because real self-respect don't come from what you tolerate, it comes from what you're willing to leave behind. The highest form of self-love ain't always loud or pretty. Sometimes it's silent, sometimes it's lonely, sometimes it's painful. But it's necessary. You reach a point in your life where you gotta say, this don't serve me no more. And when you do, that's when you truly start evolving. See, a lot of people stay stuck in toxic spaces because they're scared of walking alone. They'd rather suffer in familiar chaos than face the quiet of peace. But peace ain't scary. It's sacred. It's where you meet yourself again. Solitude is not punishment, it's protection. It's where you get clear about who you are and what you deserve. Real ones understand that being alone is better than being surrounded by fake love, half support, and hidden envy. Because nothing drains your spirit faster than pretending to be okay in rooms that no longer feed your soul. I had to learn that firsthand. I've walked away from business deals that didn't feel right, friendships that started to feel one-sided, even family energy that clashed with my vision. And let me tell you, it never felt easy. Every time I walked away, it hurt. Because when you care deeply, letting go feels like losing a piece of yourself. But over time, I realized something powerful. Every time I chose peace over pain, I didn't lose anything. I leveled up, I shed the weight that was holding me back. I made space for what was meant for me. That's what walking away really is. It's not rejection, it's redirection. When you walk away, people gon' talk. They'll say you changed. They'll say you acting different. But that's exactly the point. You are different. You outgrew the version of yourself that tolerated things just to keep the peace. Now you understand that real peace ain't about keeping others comfortable. It's about keeping your soul unbothered. Some people only loved you when you were easy to use, when you didn't have boundaries, when you said yes to everything that drained you. But the moment you start saying no, the moment you start valuing your time, your energy, your heart, they call it selfish. Now it's not selfish, it's self-worth. Walking away doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to choose better. You can forgive somebody and still move on. You can appreciate what something taught you and still decide it's not for you anymore. Growth is realizing that peace doesn't always include people you once loved. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's truth. Some chapters just can't come with you to your next level. Not because they bad, but because they complete. When you walk away, don't chase closure. Don't waste your time explaining your peace to people committed to misunderstanding it. You don't need to prove why you deserve peace. The act of leaving speaks for itself. You don't need to announce your healing to the same people who caused your hurt. Just move, quietly, with grace, because sometimes silence is the loudest way to say I'm done. I've learned that walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing that every time you settle, you send the universe a message that you're okay with less, and the universe responds accordingly. But when you stand up for yourself, when you walk away from disrespect, manipulation, or inconsistency, you raise your value. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept and what you walk away from. That's why self-respect will always cost you something, but it'll never cost you your soul. A lot of people think healing means holding on, fixing, forcing things to work, but sometimes healing means letting go and trusting that what's meant for you won't require you to sacrifice your peace. It's about knowing that peace is not negotiable. You deserve spaces that inspire you, relationships that feed your growth, and environments that match your energy. You can't receive those blessings if your hands are full of what you should have released. I remember moments where walking away felt like failure, like maybe I should have stayed longer, tried harder, explained more. But now I see it differently. Every time I walked away from what wasn't serving me, I was creating space for what would. That job that drained me, leaving it open doors for better opportunities. That friendship that became toxic, ending it gave me room to connect with real ones who match my frequency. That situation that kept me stuck, walking away brought me back to myself. Sometimes your peace requires your absence, and that's okay. See, when you value yourself, you stop begging for clarity. You stop trying to convince people to see your worth. You stop fighting for attention that should have been freely given. You realize that your energy is currency, and not everyone can afford your presence. You stop discounting your soul just to fit into spaces that don't honor your light. When you walk away like you value yourself, you teach the world how to value you too. And yeah, people gone say you cold for leaving, but you're not cold, you clear. You're not angry, you aligned. You're not bitter, you better. You're just finally choosing peace over pressure, love over loneliness, clarity over confusion. You're choosing yourself, and that's the most powerful decision you can make. Because here's the truth, you can't build peace in the same place that broke you. You can't heal where you keep getting hurt. You can't grow in soil that don't nourish you. So stop watering dead plants. Stop investing your heart into things that don't pour back into you. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply walk away, not with hate, not with revenge, but with gratitude for what it taught you and strength for what you survived. When you walk away with peace in your heart, you're already winning. You're not running. You're reclaiming your space. You're not giving up. You're leveling up. You're not weak. You're wise. Because the truth is, real power is quiet. It's in knowing you could stay and fight, but you'd rather protect your energy. It's in realizing that closure ain't something someone gives you. It's something you give yourself the moment you stop explaining your worth and start living it. So, yeah, walk away like you value yourself. Walk away from disrespect, from inconsistency, from people who love you only when it's convenient. Walk away from energy that confuses your spirit. Walk away from environments that stunt your growth. Walk away from anything that costs you your peace, because nothing is worth your peace, nothing. And when you do, stand tall, keep your head high. Don't look back trying to understand what's already behind you. The door closed because your blessing don't live there anymore. You've outgrown that chapter, you've elevated past that level, and now you're walking in alignment, not for approval, not for validation, but for your peace. And that right there is real self-respect. That's power, that's freedom, that's love for yourself, the kind that can't be broken, can't be questioned, can't be taken away.